Hi, Ella.
Hi, how are you?
I'm taking there. Never a dull moment, you know what I mean?
Right, I know. Never a dull moment. That's the attitude you get after you've kind of people are like, how can you guys be laughing and enjoying each other? And I'm like, it happens. It just takes work. You have to process, you have to stabilize, and when you start connecting with others and you've had times to adapt to it, which is a sad thing, the saddest word for me is to hear that word adapt. Who should have to adapt to this? But that is when you'll start to feel some freeness within yourself. Anyway.
I also see progress. There was a judgment recently which Karen Stewart published on Facebook about watch lists being unconstitutional.
Yep, I was going to read that tonight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just seeing progress, and it's really hard to deny 21 location protest. It's hard to deny that. We might not have all the answers, but I think when you have protests globally in 21 locations, it sends a message. And I thank all of you who participated. I wish I could have been involved, but life's been crazy.
That's okay. We're doing it for you. For the people who are unable to make it, we'll be there for you.
Oh, it's so good that you're doing all this, because for us that are just trying to wade through the crap that they're constantly throwing at us, it's just a ray of hope. It's like as long as there's progress and there is an increase of awareness, I'm happy. That's the level I'm on, because I think this thing is going to be exposed, and it's huge.
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you to the people who helped create the day. It's some of the people that are in Alliance to End Targeting. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, the people that helped create that day, make it what it is, and including Matthew, and just grateful to those people and all the determined minds and persistent people, all the stubborn people that got this thing off the ground.
Amen.
Amen to that.
What it does for the people like me who I'm still doing activism, but, I can't just travel at the moment to do what I'd like to do with it. But it gives us data, and when you go and you talk to somebody and you start talking about this and they say, wow, that's really out there, and they look at you kind of strangely, you whip out your phone and you already have a bookmark of a story which talks about all of the different countries that are protesting against this all over the world. And it's very impressive. It's like, Rome, Italy, London, England, Morocco,
Italy,
France,
China, and Brazil,
Moscow.
Moscow.
And,
Paris. I know, it's pretty amazing.
I want to tell people to use this because it's very convincing. I find when I, print it out. Now, there's about to be all the stories coming out about the 2019 protests. Print it out. And when people look at you funny.
There's a lot of positive press from the events that just happened. I couldn't believe it. I was beside myself. So I was very happy. That was something that really, one of them was written by a TI. He has a blog, but it still was very professional. And then people sent out a PSA, and they just printed it exactly how we would want it to be. And then someone came down, and I know Shayla, she's going down to Los Angeles to do an interview. Someone approached her about doing an interview. Matthew, someone came up to the square. Clyde, I didn't realize that Clyde Lewis has a studio here in Portland. I had no idea. It was down the street from me. And he came down and asked Matthew to come in and with Dr. John Hall. It was all very positive, which was very...
The whole production looked so professional compared to what it looked like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe all the banners. It just how good it all looks. It really looks like we're getting our stuff together here. We're forced to be reckoned with. And I urge everybody to print out the stories about the global protests because it's really hard to ignore stuff like that.
That's right. It doesn't look like just a few people complaining and sounding. I always say strength in numbers. I've said that since day one. And so whether you're going to report on a crime and something happened in your home, you want to go together. And it's more credible when you have a group of people on the same, sharing a similar narrative together. Or just a group of people protesting against crimes like these. And so what happens is these are like professional people, mixed people. This is a lot of people that are saying the same thing or close to the same thing. There's something going.
It also points out that this is a global problem.
Yes, it does. I say that.
It's really helpful. Right now it seems like everything is being blamed on America in the world, right? And I'm sure we're to blame for half of it. But this isn't just America. We might have developed the weapons, but somebody globally is orchestrating this. And it is important for people to know that. So when you're thinking about who do I blame for this? And you think, well, what global entities might be involved? Who wants power right now globally? Okay, ding, ding. Come on, it's all over the place. So it's important to give that picture that, this isn't just America, okay, we imported all these Nazis and, they go after innocent people all the time and, take over their lives. Well, all that might be true, but this is global. So we have a global entity orchestrating what's going on. It isn't NATO. Some of it might be. Japan is not a part of NATO. Asia is not a part of NATO. And they're all very well represented in this fight. So get out there and, just share the information if you could do nothing else. Just share the information that's coming in that looks credible.
And I know that goes against how we feel sometimes, but just trying to present yourself in a calm manner makes people more receptive to your information.
Keep yourself well-groomed. Seriously. Do everything you can to maintain your composure at all times.
Normalcy, yeah. Normalcy can. You can call us, and you can be crazy as we want to be. It's all as emotional, and it's not even crazy. It's just a real response to these events. And so we can talk to each other about everything that we go through, every little detail.
Yeah, don't tell people your story. Present the big picture. Your story is too crazy to listen to, okay? We need to go backwards on that. What we need is acknowledgement of the global phenomenon that's going on, and then we can come back and tell our stories once that's accomplished. Mm-hmm. Okay?
We know it's more than a phenomenon, but, it's a horrific nightmare to many of us. But it's referred to as normal people call it a phenomena, this phenomenon of targeted individuals. And, I've just learned to accept words like that, even though when I first found the community, I was like, this is horrific. And it is. It really is. It's atrocious. Everything that everybody's had to experience it's like living in an alternative reality almost.
Well, I'm sure you've had this experience, Ella, when you're trying to talk to a new person who shows genuine interest, you don't want to scare them.
That's right. That is something I knew that already. And you know what I think? How I think I had a little head start in as regards to working with people and doing public outreach. Not only from having a background in advertisement, but also because I worked with traumatized children. I took them in my home. They were like foster children, and it's as emotional as you can be, or whatever. You needed to be the stable one. So all those things I picked up from like 15, 20 years of working with people and children. So I learned all that, and it subconsciously was already ingrained in me. So I knew that was the way we needed to be. And then I saw the response when I tried to tell people exactly what was going on. And it wasn't, I ended up, visiting a place. That's for sure. A place I shouldn't have been. So.
Those of us who are targeted, we probably came upon the information we have slowly. And it was probably a difficult process of discovery.
Especially if you don't have reference points. You think it's happening to you, and you don't use. I imagined it was happening to other people because why would somebody waste all this technology on just me? So that made common sense. It was finding the group and finding people that made it difficult. And I didn't know what words to search, and they were coming up not the results I wanted. And when I was experiencing stalking and the word gang stalking came up, I'm like, oh, no, the Bloods and the Crips aren't. So I dismissed those results because I didn't. I thought stalking was like the Bloods and the Crips, living in L.A., that's what you know. And so I didn't even go down that. I didn't even click on those because I just didn't think it was associated to what I was going through. Because some of these people that were doing this to me just look like normal people. So Bloods and the Crips. So I've never liked that word, but within our community, I think it's fine if we use it. I personally don't like it for public consumption. I don't like that word.
What word are you speaking of?
Gang stalking.
Oh, gang stalking, yeah, I agree. I call it...
organized stalking?
I call it on-foot surveillance.
There you go. I like that. That's a good one, too.
And I'll tell you something else. What I was trying to get at is that most of us didn't learn about this all in one night. And we were able to adjust to it slowly, emotionally, as information came to us.
Well, honestly, for me, it was just contact, listening, getting validation from other people. And that's why I always promote that, because that's when I felt sane again.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that you can't expect a person on the street to digest the whole damn thing in one conversation. What you have to do, I call it remote influencing technology.
I'll say brain influencing. I won't say mind control. That does sound like science fiction.
I'd say behavior modification. Behavior modification, and its semantics are so important right now because our whole world is hinging on all these words, and these words are being used to divide people and create emotion and all kinds of things. So you have to be careful with what you say.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You have to think about it before you say it, And to talk to somebody about remote influencing technology, that encompasses everything. And it's not that scary because they're already learning about that.
Yeah.
Or to talk to somebody about on-foot surveillance rather than gang stalking, which sounds like, run for the hills. So how you present the information is, and to talk to somebody about behavior modification rather than mind control.
Yeah, that word, you'll get a reaction so quickly of all of a sudden they go blank, because the first time we went out and I handed out flyers with my friend and she goes, and she's cute and it's true. She goes, have you heard of mind control? And I was like, let's not use that word. It was the first time we said. So now we're down to, hey, here's a public service announcement that affects you. Or here, take this. This is very important. You have to speak in an authoritarian. There's a thing in psychology that if you speak authoritarian, like to a stranger on the street, they'll listen to you if you say it like that, and they do take it. But then again, I live in Portland, Oregon, where people are very receptive and sweet and conscientious, so maybe that's why it's so easy here. Because I know even in Chicago, I guess people were busy. You're in a big city that is very business-oriented. Portland's not like that. So I know people have tight schedules like New York. Being in New York City, everyone's just too darn busy to stop and talk to you. But on the outskirts like Brooklyn and places like that, they'll listen. But one thing I wanted to do, though, before we run out of time, is read this article from Newsweek. And it says, U.S. federal judge rules terrorist watch list is unconstitutional. It's by Matt Keeley, and it came out September 4th. Okay, so it says, U.S. District Judge Anthony Trenga ruled Wednesday that the federal government's watch list of, quote, known or suspected terrorists, end quote, is unconstitutional. The list, which contains over 1 million people, was challenged by the Council on American-Islamic Relations and 23 American citizens who said they were wrongly placed on the list. Judge Trenga ruled the terrorist screening database, known colloquially as the terrorist watch list, violated due process because there was no clear standard for people to be included or removed from the list. Yeah, we know that. The list is distributed throughout the U.S. government and police agencies and sent to foreign governments. There is no evidence or contention, I've got to move this up here, that any of these plaintiffs satisfy the definition of a, quote, known terrorist, Trenga wrote. The judge also wrote that a non-dangerous conduct could land someone on the list, like someone who maybe is a social deviant or someone who is outspoken about the things we discuss or alternative media. An individual's placement into that was just my own commentary there. And back to the reading here. An individual's placement into the TSDB does not require any evidence that the person engaged in criminal activity committed a crime or will commit a crime in the future. And individuals who have been acquitted of a terrorism-related crime may still be listed in the TSDB, Trenga wrote. Qadir Abbas, a lawyer for the plaintiffs, argued that the TSDB has no use in actually preventing terrorism. He claims some people who committed terrorist acts were not included on the watch list at any time. Abbas also pointed out that our Omar Mateen, the Pulse nightclub mass shooter who killed 49 people, was on the list at one time but then removed. The TSDB is separate from the no-fly list, which none of the plaintiffs claim to have been included on, according to the ruling. Though the no-fly list has been challenged in court, this is the first ruling to apply to the TSDB, according to Abbas. Innocent people should be beyond the reach of the watch list system, Abbas said to the Associated Press. We think that's what the Constitution requires. Hold on, guys, I have to scroll down. Approximately 1.16 million people were on the TSDB as of June 2017. According to the Associated Press, though the majority of the watch list is made up of people not permanently living in the United States, the government says there are about 4,600 American citizens and lawful permanent residents on the list. Though Trenga was told both the plaintiffs and the government to file supplemental briefings before deciding what remedies to take, CAIR called the ruling a victory. I'd say so.
Yeah, that's great. I also heard another bit of good news is that I read that Verizon is having real problems getting 5G out in our country because the number of city councils who are holding hearings and the people don't want it. So they're not putting it in. That just happened in Danville, California, sections of Monterey, Fairfax, Mill Valley, California, Brussels. So how that affects us, although, we don't need 5G, it's the last thing we need, is that all these people are getting the idea of damage done by electromagnetic frequency. And they are showing up in city councils in record numbers to fight 5G. So, yeah, I'd say there's progress going on. That's all I need.
Yeah. Hi, Ella. This is Sue. I've been waiting for a while to speak. I really wanted to ask your guests some definitive questions, and I noticed that everybody just kind of went past it. So I don't know if you were able to answer any of those thoughts.
Oh, no, we let her go. It was 2 o'clock in the morning there.
I know. But I just wanted to ask some questions, like, since you did a little background, I didn't hear, how did she get recruited into the super classified program? And
it just happened to her. But you know what I can do? If you email me, I'll just send you her email address.
They're not able to fill them up.
Okay. It just happened to her? And then
it happened to her. She was working, what's the word she used? She was working for the government or in the private sector, public sector, I should say, and she wasn't actually even allowed to really share what she was doing, and it just started happening to her.
Okay, and then the part about where she's transporting like 50 black people to Mars, how did she do that exactly? I mean, she said she could visualize. Well, we can visualize. If we're able to visualize and transport our imaginations to Saturn, does that mean we're actually transporting to Saturn when our bodies are here? Is that how she got 50 people on Mars, through their imagination or her imagination? Or what kind of technology was used to do that?
She said it was kind of like remote viewing. That's what I brought it up as. And she just says it's kind of like being in a matrix, like she's in this dream state, so to speak.
Yeah, I heard that. Part. But she said her body never really left here. So now I'm questioning, if they have such advanced technologies where they can transport through their imagination, through the matrix to another place, is that like teleportation, and can we do that? I have a lot of questions. I'm
going to give you her email address. I mean, if she was speaking, I had a ton of questions too, but I also knew I only had her for an hour.
I know. I'm just saying I was holding on for a while, and I really wanted to kind of, I don't know, it does sound like fiction, but if they have such advanced technologies that are super classified like that, it could answer the question, why are some of us targeted? Do we have really good imagination, and they're afraid that we might cross a line of somehow entering a super highway of telecommunications and transportation that they're working on? Did I lose you?
Who knows?
Hello?
She didn't seem to know that. She said that she doesn't think that they even knew she was able to do those things.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It kind of makes
like with the V2K and everything, she was able to hear them talking. Like
with
somehow
V2K?
it was still going on. It wasn't just like, V2K people are like, we're watching you, we gotcha, and all those different things, the various things, that narratives that people hear. She said she could just hear conversations, and it was like she was there, and it wasn't turned off, and so she could hear all these conversations.
How did she bury the bodies?
I'm sorry?
How did she bury the bodies? She said she buried bodies of people on Mars. Or the
I know, when she was in that state.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, she just was visualizing this, or did this actually take place?
Well, no, she was still here, but she was like in this, probably I would say like an augmented reality, or maybe even that. But
it could have been a
like she was in like a dream state, and that she felt as if she could go like remote viewers, like she could go to do different things, and she could hear like what the perpetrators were saying in the rooms, and so she heard a lot that was going on. She just took notes on it as she.
This is Richard from North Carolina. Can I comment on that?
Oh.
Sue, are you done? Do you want to ask anything else? Because of course I don't know.
I think No, that's good enough, Elle. I just wanted to say that, I had the questions, and then, don't worry about it. I might do some research on it myself.
Yeah, but you can contact her too. I'll give you her email, and I'm sure she'll gladly answer. And she's a writer, so she may be able to convey it even in a better format if she writes it to you.
Can you give it to? Can you tell everybody at the same time? Can you just say it?
No, I'd rather not.
All right.
But yeah, just email me and I'll send it to you.
All right.
I always get nervous because I don't want to bombard them. Some people are like, oh, my God, I'm getting so many calls. I don't know what to do. I don't want to overwhelm them.
Oh, I thought maybe she was trying to sell the book and she would want to have her contact out there. But don't worry.
Go to Amazon. Yeah, she said go to Amazon to buy her book.
Yeah, Amazon. Okay. I'll look it up then. I'll look that up. Don't worry about it. Okay. What the other guy said.
Go ahead.
Well, this is Richard from North Carolina. I was going to comment on the lady's speculation. When I was in federal prison in '99, a psychology doctor told me I could hear voices in my head and to have burns on my body. And he said radio, microwave, and hologram signals. Well, I got to studying that, doing research on it, and actually it's a hologram. I found where somebody in the United States could go to China through a hologram and communicate in a hologram state. They could actually talk and communicate. They'd be here, but they'd send a hologram of themselves to China. That's what I read in the research when he explained it was radio, microwave, and hologram signals. So I believe what the lady meant.
Well, she didn't say hologram. She just said in her mind in the Matrix.
Yeah, I know.
Any technical terms like hyperspace or supersonic or anything that scientific that I've heard.
So, right, but what I'm trying to say, that's done. I mean, that's you can do research on that. That you can actually, I could be sitting and using a hologram. I could be sitting in my home and communicate with somebody in Europe. But it'd be my.
It's a projection that creates images.
Exactly right.
Light, like photons or any type of light arranged.
Exactly.
And they're working on, at least even like in the known public, there are like 3D, not just 3D holograms, but that sensual, like you can touch it. So it's really interesting what's happening. And that's known publicly. Like that's common, I don't want to say it's common knowledge, but it's available online to everybody.
Right.
Yeah, they call that augmented reality.
Right. You guys from Kansas to have a patent application for being able to capture consciousness and put it in a clone so that you can actually be in two places at once. You can have a clone with your mindset, all your consciousness implanted in this thing, and he can be at a meeting while you're at the ballgame with your kid, or he can be, having sex with your wife while you're down having a beer at the bar or whatever, And if this is an application for a patent, and these guys already have 4 of the only approved patents in the United States that involve subvocal remote neural monitoring technology. So these guys are on top of this thing.
Imagine if your algorithms were uploaded to a computer and you could be multiple versions of yourself, like infinite versions of yourself living all these different realities simultaneously. That's always a fascinating thought. I think about weird things, though. That's how my mind goes. But the possibility likes to chomp on it and think about everything that is possible with that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the hologram is similar to my cyber twin. The guy from Europe, UK, I think, invented that in '97. When I looked at my cyber twin, it's like you sitting at home and you're going to use your cyber twin to communicate with your friends. You don't even have to see your friends. They'll communicate in the cloud. That's like sending your hologram and your communications up to the cloud, and your cyber twin will be. The guy was worried, invented it. He was concerned about making people brain dead, just sitting around, because their cyber twin do everything for them.
That's kind of like where it is now.
Yeah, well, that's where it's going.
Turn on the television.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. It'll do everything for the individual, so the individual won't think for themselves. But if anything ever happens to their cyber twin, they will be lost. They won't be able to do anything for themselves, and that's what the man was worried about when he created that.
Do you really feel that she was there burying bodies, or I mean, like?
No, not literally. I think it was part of her experience.
I'm not saying it wasn't induced into her to think she was there, but I'm just saying that for the way
she knows it was technology.
She explained it like she was actually there, though, the way I understood what she said.
Well, she said it was like the Matrix.
Okay.
In other words, you could be somewhere, but your mind goes elsewhere to all these places.
Okay, but you don't take the bodies with you.
No, she didn't say. Towards the end, she admitted that she hadn't gone anywhere. That it was
the body
in her
was
mind.
still in the same place.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can go. I can see that. I can understand. I get.
Sounds like virtual reality. You know, you can put on like if you've been to Disneyland and you put on there's this one Star Wars ride and you put on these glasses and it's like, and you can feel it bumping and it seems like you're there. You're really there experiencing that. It just seems very virtual reality.
Her saying that she had spoken with these perps. She said the perps had given her information about things.
And then I think it's more B2K than she actually saw them. She didn't actually see them, she said. And also, Ella, you asked a question about one of the original creators of something that he was currently disabled and she had a conversation with, right? And you asked who was it, and she didn't say.
Yeah, she didn't. I was trying to,
I know she skirted that question quickly.
She skirted it.
Given her information at a point in time that allowed her to do something. And
it's possible that she's a TI and doesn't know it.
Oh, no, she knows she's a TI.
Yeah.
She said she was experiencing, all of a sudden the V2K started, and I never got a chance because her story is so detailed. I wanted to give her the floor so she could get out all that information. But I had all kinds of questions that were arising, like, what did they say to you at first? Where were you exactly? What did you do? What did you think it was? Like, there's all these questions that want to pop out, but I just know we had an hour to talk about some really...
Oh, I know. Oh, you handled it well. It's not that. It's no criticism of your interview. You did a perfect job. It's just that.
Well, no, I did the best I could for the time being. How's that? But I wished it was longer, and I like to have the day before. It always makes the interview so much better to talk the day before, so we can figure out which topics. And sometimes, when I'm interviewing people, they'll send me what they would like to touch upon, like an outline. I didn't even get a chance to do that. I didn't even get a chance to information.
That's what I used to get, would be like an outline or a list of questions that they're comfortable answering. And
or just what topics they want to cover, so you come up with the questions that will get to the information that they want to touch upon. Yeah.
Right.
Radio shows are more planned out than you think. That's for sure. And then sometimes you'll just have a guest show up, like say your guest doesn't show up, and so you just grab someone else to come in, and it's just very natural. Sometimes those are the best ones,
Are you going to have her on iHeart Radio, the other one?
I'm thinking about it because she's right up. I know a lot of the hosts that I have would love her to talk about similar things. They're very into technology and AI technology and the idea of uploading consciousness, and so I think they would love her.
May I get her last name again? I didn't quite catch it.
Twine.
Twine?
Yes.
Thank you. And then her one book is called Kiss, Care, Goodbye. Did we ever hear her say what her other book was called?
What other what?
She said she had 2 books, and one was more about North America.
Yeah, her most recent one, which was Kiss Terror Goodbye, is more the North American experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe we can find out if we go to that site and Google that book. Maybe her other book might be there as well. She was very fascinating. She was absolutely fascinating.
Very fascinating, yeah. And there's so many, because her story is so different, so many questions come up. So she's like the kind of person you want to interview for 6 hours.
Well, what it made me think of was, you know, German scientists have been communicating with dead people through radio waves for many, many years. They're the first ones who ever did this, and it was through radio waves. And I know that a lot of people who are mediums or whatever, a lot of times that happens when you're asleep and you're in a very relaxed state, and it's through your subconscious. So it almost sounds like it's a little like that.
I think a lot of those kind of people are con artists. Is just my opinion. I saw this documentary too. That kind of I'm not saying all.
There are, especially the ones that take money and have an ulterior motive possibly. But I am going to share this with you. And also I wanted to say something about the caller who called in and was complaining about the V2K, the voices and everything. I was thinking about Dave Case's CD.
Yes.
Because I just ordered it, and I'm hoping that it helps.
It should help. I can't listen to it because I'm so sensitive to, I just can't listen to that kind of sound. But I know a lot of people really like it, and I would imagine it would disrupt signals as well.
Well, I am being so heavily targeted because I'm stuck in a home with no car, and all I have is a cell phone, and I don't know how many people are hacked into my phone. I get daily texts from people letting me know that they're watching me, they're hacked into my phone, this and that. And I'm being targeted really heavily, so when I go to bed at night, it's almost like locusts in my ears. It's so deafening.
Mm-hmm.
It's really powerful.
What about the noise-canceling hearing aids?
Yes, I would try that as well. I would try just about anything that's, like you said, not real expensive because I have limited income. I've been at Target for 3 years, and this is the first time I've talked on your podcast. I've listened to your podcast a few times, and one thing I wanted to say to you, Ella, is the billboards are genius, in my opinion. I think that is going to get more attention and make us, as a targeted community all over the world more credible.
But you know what is the thing that I didn't expect, that people who are targets, and I've heard this numerous times or I wouldn't say it, that when their families saw the billboards, they realized how big it really was, and it made sense to them.
See, and I think that's the most hurtful thing psychologically, is the fact that your own grown kids don't believe you, and they think, they're treating you with ageism, and you've lost your mind, and you must need a geriatric psych eval. It's like...
All of us, some of us are a little bit on the younger side, and so it's like, they can't say, well, you can't say about all these other people going through it. We're all ages, all races, all kinds of people.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for people that think it's because, they're gay, or, it's this, it's that.
That's sad. I know.
It's so sad, and my heart just breaks for them because I think, they want you to think it's really personal. They want you to personalize it because then it's more hurtful, And that's all part of the psychological terror of it. But like this other thing, this Martha Twine, she was just so fascinating, and I wish she could have called her book nonfiction. And I get why she called it.
He does refer to it very carefully as science fiction. You just have to see how she worded it. Like, it sounds like science. She states it's science fiction, but that it's true at the same time. The way she refers to electromagnetic energy and the possibilities and capabilities of the technology. So it's interesting. But it is good because, I have a dear friend who's going to write a book and also try to take a fictional stance because it's so hard to believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this communication she spoke about, is it only via computer, or can that be done in a dream state or telepathically?
That's a good question.
Because my experience has been...
You said technology-based, but...
Well, my stalking started with, the hacking of my life started with my phone being hacked. The next thing was the following me around, stalking. The next thing was chemicals. And I have been heavily targeted with chemicals. Chemicals so powerful in my space, all by myself, that
I do that often.
You do?
Oh, yes. Very
because
often.
it's not a one of your podcasts had a guy on there that talked about telepathic, or something. It was like they gave you this crap mentally, but this is definitely physical.
Well, he's referring to telemetry. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. How like radio frequencies can carry mimic certain toxins or whatever. That's what he was talking about.
Okay, yeah. No, I was talking about, I was thinking about these chemicals and how they do that with these chemicals, because they have made me, like I've heard people say, why are target stomachs so upset? It's because of these chemicals that are penetrating.
Radiation will do that.
What will?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
The radiation?
Yes, the radiation will, but I've had them make me so sick with chemicals that I can smell them, and they've used...
That's a good indicator if you can smell it.
Yes, but nobody can smell it but me. Oh. And I've even been targeted in the back seat of a vehicle where it's so faint, but it's right in my nose and my mouth, so that no one in the car can smell it but me.
Wow.
It's just real faint. And I have been targeted with different types of chemicals, and they react differently to my body reacts differently to them. And so, there's also a way that they can hit you with chemicals, and I don't understand that technology, and I really want to understand that, because that has been a main part of my targeting and also a big part of why no one believes me, because I used to call the police to my apartment.
Yeah, I know, but you don't have to say everything you're going through.
Right. But I mean, when it first started, I was so overwhelmed with chemicals, I would be run out of my apartment at 11:30 p.m. by ammonia, for instance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, that happened to me twice, and I'd call police, and by the time they got there, they couldn't smell anything. And sometimes it would go from smelling like ammonia to this sweet smell like a room deodorizer to baking chocolate chip cookies.
Wow.
It is so weird the way they can cover the odor so that no one can detect it. That has happened to me.
Do you know that they use chemicals, but they also can access your olfactory memory?
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Because, like, say they probably found a memory of you and baking chocolate chip cookies or buying them or something, and they just access that and you smell it, but nobody else does.
Or it's a frequency that's been like a code that's
modified.
Yeah. Like a frequency that can
okay, well, I have been listening and researching what you're just talking about, and maybe that was the motive. But I also wondered if it wasn't to cover up the smell of the chemical, because I actually had physical effects from the chemical where I had to go to the ER. Because
the chemicals are real too. I mean, but what they're probably doing is probably diverting your attention. I'm sorry, Ella. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say I do have to hop off. I hate when something someone needs to speak. But I tell you what, there is another call after mine. Let's see if I don't know the number by heart still. 605 something. Oh, here it is. We got a puppy and he's tripping all over the cords here.
I was going to also compliment you, Ella, because I listened to your podcast just before you went on the protest. And I understood there were some problems and people attacking each other, and you were quite upset. And I just wanted to tell you that you are so dependable. I've tried some of the other podcasts, and I've waited as much as 30 minutes, got off the line, waited another 30 minutes, called back, and the person still wasn't there an hour after they were scheduled. And I just want to thank you for your devotion.
My dad always told me, when you make a commitment, you always show up no matter what. So.
Well, I know what it's like to raise a family. I raised 3 kids. I had almost 18 years of marriage, and I know what it's like, and I just know how many irons you have in the fire, and plus being a target.
That. I appreciate that.
I mean, my gosh, you deserve kudos for all that you do and what you're trying to do, and I just hope that everybody can remember that we're all being attacked, so the last thing we need to do is attack each other.
Exactly. It's really
and we just
major events too. And
I was thinking Ella needs like a spiritual advisor on her show so that before she gets started,
I have friends like that. I have one of
maybe you should have them come on and just give a little.
I should have her on. Her name is Jean. She's amazing. I mean, when I am like feeling beaten down, and it's so sad, I feel more beaten down sometimes by the community than my own experiences.
And that's not right.
It just depends. At least on the psychological level, it's very sad. And I just forgive people every day. I wake up and I try to forgive everybody for everything, and I try to forgive myself because sometimes I don't behave the way I want to, or I didn't come across the way I want to.
Well, I know. Nobody's perfect, but, my gosh.
It comes out wrong. And, a lot of times people perceive what you're saying differently than you intended, and it's hard because you're like talking to 100 people and everybody perceives it differently. And so someone's feelings, and it's like, oh, that was not my intention at all, and so I hate when that happens. But I have good intentions, And
I know that, and I know most people know that, but I think sometimes people are just angry because they're being targeted and they don't know how to deal with that emotion very well, and they kind of take it around on somebody else.
Yeah. With foster kids, sometimes they hate their biological mother. They come into your house, and who do they hate? You. They've taken that anger, that initial anger, and put it on you.
Yeah, they've transferred that. Yeah.
That's how it is. We have all this anger, and we're placing it on the wrong people.
Exactly.
We're also
you're right. You're right about us all. We can't all agree. We can just respectfully agree to disagree sometimes. Right. It doesn't matter if we don't all agree. But I've learned so much just listening.
What I can say, what I can and cannot say, and what I have to be and should be reading this, that, and the other. I do my thing. You go do your thing, and I will never cut you down or disrespect you. I don't think I'm God. I think that everyone should listen to all the variations and come to the conclusion themselves. And I think most people agree, as to what's happening to some degree. And we all know that we want it to stop. So that's the most important thing. And I personally believe public exposure and exposure of what's going on, these crimes, is number one. People need to know about it before there's going to be any movement.
I do too. I believe that's number one too, and I think those billboards were the most ingenious idea. If that was your idea, then you deserve kudos for that, because that is, when I saw that, I was so happy. I was like, oh, this is amazing, because nothing, could get better attention, because the press isn't covering it. The press is controlled, though.
Yeah, they are controlled, and they can squash an article, and they can promote an article. I mean, that's just what they do, and they have very little control unless they're doing like an opinion piece. And then they're just opinions, and so it's pretty frightening. That's why I love alternative media, and radio is the best, because they're not, even like on my station, they're not controlling what I said. They don't want too much fear-mongering, whatever that means. They don't want me to be too scary about on the topics and stuff. But anyway.
Well, the government's the same way. Look how long they've kept information about UFOs and aliens from us. I mean, we still don't have all the things, all the information, and we may never, And I think it's the same thing. I think it's, this information is kept from the masses for purpose, whether it's for what they tell themselves are good intentions or ill intentions. There's really no way of knowing. And I really do want to know the source. And that was another question I had about her mentioning the mafia infiltrating our government.
Well, that is not new news to me at all.
Yeah. But, I mean, wouldn't you like to know who your target is? You know what I mean? Like, who is targeting people?
Even though, like, someone with money can get you onto some list, it'd be nice to know who was paid to do what and what list you're actually on and who's perpetrating the crimes. That part I can't even answer. I know exactly the person who I, quote-unquote, offended, but I can't tell you where I was handed off to. I just can't.
Right. Exactly.
Anyways, I better go. I did want to say before I go, tomorrow on my iHeart show, which starts at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I have a guy, a person from the United States who is a correspondent, and there's a protest going on in Hong Kong, and he's going to report that to me. He does reports about different protests going on around the world. So he is there right now, and he's going to talk about all the events that are happening in Hong Kong and the protests and where it stands right now. And it's very interesting what's going on. It's very it's kind of frightening at the same time, but it's a very complex protest that's occurring, and there's many. It's not just one topic. The protest started for one reason, and now it's kind of come around to various reasons. Anyway, a lot of repressed things that are starting to come out. But anyways, so that's tomorrow. If you just go to iHeartRadio, do it on your app, and just put in TFR, which is Truth Frequency Radio, at the right time, and I'll be on there. I hope you guys can listen. Me and Matthew are going to get up our video as soon as we can. So the call is, the one after me is 605-562-0444, 605-562-0444. The ID number is 125472. 125472. And if you guys don't make the show tomorrow, I have a website. It's called agoodplacewithella.com. And it put all those videos up there, and I've been very fortunate and blessed to interview some of those people. So everyone hang in there, stay connected.
You too. You keep your head up, because you're doing a great job.
Thanks, son. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Have a good night.